Did I just crash?
No, I don't think you crashed.
I froze for a bit for some reason.
Oh, you are frozen. I still hear you.
I still hear you.
Uh-oh.
Wonderful start then, but the stream is still going.
Is it off the overlay?
Yeah, it is off the overlay, so I'm gonna put it to the BRB,
Yep, we
and
might be having a few technical issues. We'll be right back.
yeah. While I restart Resonite, I will take a look at the chat. I still have Streamlabs open to see the chat. Hello, Strange Dragon. Welcome to the stream. There we go. Literally, the timing couldn't be better. Okay. Let's see here. Relaunch. For those just tuning into the stream, this is usually the art team office hours, similar to what Fruits does on Sundays, as well as the moderation office hours, where we go around and answer questions. I already had Serenapal running. I have 2 instances of... Okay, I think I know the culprit. I think my face tracking crashed me. Okay, now loading in again. I'm Aegis Wolf, and I will be joined with Rushen. We're both of the art team of Resonite. So, just gonna go through and... I'm probably gonna have to log in as well, too, again. Let's see here. No, I don't. Good. Worlds, dev, tutorial. Let's hop into there. Okay, here we go. I am scrunched up into the ground. There we go. Hello, now we're finally here. Finally in a world, in the flesh, or triangles, I guess you could say. There we go. Now Rue should be joining us soon. I'm gonna switch to first person and walk back into where we were sitting around. Set up the camera here. There we go. And I should get Twitch chat in here so that any new messages will pop up right in world. Thanks to Jack the Fox Otter for making the Twitch chat pro. As soon as I bring it out here, there we go. think I I have a suspicion it's my mouth tracker or face tracker or eye
Oh
tracker,
yeah,
Serenipal, but
yeah.
I am not too sure. Right now, I'm technically Windows is telling me I'm running two instances of it.
Oof.
I cannot wait for my big screen beyond.
Oh
Now
yeah,
make
you'll
sure.
have to bring out the stuff we had earlier.
Yeah, of course. We can do it over time. Kind of reintroduce those that are just tuning in. I'm Aegis Wolf, and this is Rushen of the art team of Resonite. Here doing uh, AMA, pretty much answering questions that folks have for Resonite content creation or in general Resonite uh, stuff in general. For those just tuning in, for some reason, as soon as I just swap like the scenes in OBS, it just locked up on me. So restarted Resonite, so I'm here now. Thankfully, it didn't like interrupt the stream. So yeah, we're here. We're in the tutorial world.
Yep, the one we're currently updating and working on.
Mm-hmm. And thanks to the mad scientists, texture mad scientist Gareth 48 and Yuru, you helped update the textures of the plants again.
Yes. We had to make custom map data for them.
All directly in GIMP using the tools within there, and you just found out a way to use one of the steps in Blender as well.
Yeah. I want to try to see if I get that process a little bit more streamlined. It's still something we're trying to figure out. But if I can get a Blender file set up for it, then hopefully all the people would need to do if they wanted to make their own maps, just their own image into the Blender file and out what they want.
So here's a good question that we now have, and welcome to the stream, Marty. Wait, you make custom mipmap data? Why not just rely on mipmaps Resonite provides? It's so that you can control how the image looks depending on how far you are. You can actually make some unique effects using your own custom ones. Brooks made it so that you can add in your own mipmaps into DDS files. But I know, Rue, you wanted to explain it further, though.
Yeah, let me get out one of these images here while you are. I need to grab the plants material. It'll take me a second.
Ah. I should make a camera anchor where that's located. There we go. Now it should lock right back in where it should be. So within Resonite, you can actually preview each bitmap if you want to by messing around with the bitmap's bias.
Yep. So if I set, so by default, this is what the normal like bitmaps would look like. So this is a bitmap of 2. And this is basically simulating your distance from the object or texture, right? So if you go far away, it gets a little bit blurrier, lowers the resolution to kind of save performance. We're going to go like a few steps, like we'll go to step 5, and you'll see that the image gets a little bit more transparent. with like the higher steps. We'll go to like step 12, and it's basically gone at this point, right?
It
Um,
goes from highest to like lower res to pixel slop to a single pixel.
yeah, and the transparency also like increases by a lot. So we'll go back down to 0, and we'll use the custom bitmaps by checking the keep original bitmaps. So these are the ones we generated. So if we go back to 2, you'll see that it didn't get any like more. It didn't get any more transparent. It just got a little bit lower resolution. If we go back to 5, you'll see that it's still keeping the kind of like color, right? And the plants over here in the background, these are what you would generally like be rendering in a normal video game whenever you're really far away. The plant is still visible and it's still there. In the other one, they would have been like a lot more transparent and harder to see. So if I like do that, you can kind of contrast them. But the real big difference is when you're really far away, like across the map, set at 12, right? So this is with the bitmap data that we generated, and then if I toggle it off so you can see the original, they're gone.
Yeah,
So
it
this is why we want to make our own bitmaps, so that you can still see this LOD foliage when you're extremely far away from it without really sacrificing anything.
yeah. And more than likely you won't see this lowest LOD mid map. You'll just see like very low ones. It's that like the default one just kind of makes it all dissolve or disappear. Rather in some games or like rendering like scenes, it's different or it changes.
And then whenever you make your own bitmaps, if you ever like get into that process, we'll have it detailed a little bit more later on, if people want to get into it. But if you already know how to do it and you have your own bitmaps, and you want to use them in here, because they can be used for more than just plants, you just want to make sure you have that keep original bitmaps button check marked on the static 2D texture.
Yeah. And like before like figuring out how to do it in GIMP, like we were using an archaic tool made by NVIDIA that is just command
It's like a
line
command
only,
line to generate DDS files.
which was horrible. But it worked. It did it right. But after going through and experimenting in GIMP, we get it like working. And if you figure out more ways to do it in Blender, that'll be interesting as well because they have image compositing nodes. And
Yeah.
Gareth, who helped us with it, also has the same method to do it in Adobe's Substance Designer as well, using their shader nodes or compositing nodes.
Yeah, if you have access to Sounds Designer, it's like a quick drag and drop process. But not everyone has like $200 for that program because it is actually that expensive. At least if you get it through Steam. Um, and so we're trying to make the process a little bit more accessible and easier for people to follow.
We have another question. Welcome, Babbler, to the stream. Hello, how goes the spring cleaning? Good question. Most of the spring cleaning is pretty much done, and the last steps going through Blender, updating a lot of the models to not use like baked in textures and use reusable textures or texture trims. Everything has pretty much been done. I'm gonna bring in some examples too during this stream. We had it earlier, but I uh, I crashed. But yeah, let me get the latest models. May as well start with that avatar real quick. This will probably be updated in a bit, but let me get the original default avatar as well, so I can see a comparison. Let's go to... Oh yeah, I have the backup in here. Projects there. Default avatar, older versions. There we go. Awesome. This will have the same, mostly stuff working underneath, same hologram eyes and mouth, but just mainly tweaks to the textures of the base model. This one right now is using textures that are both baked in Substance Painter and ones that can just be tiled across the model. And this one is purely just textures that are tileable within here. And say like these metal trims are the same metal trims are on the bars of the walls, and that pattern, that texture around that trim there is the same one on pretty much a lot of the functionality or tools or structure pieces. So it's just removing any more things that could just be extra data that people download. It's a close-up of that third-person camera. And the hands. Found new places to add, like the player accent colors as well. Also, I cannot unsee the fact that I forgot to place a material there, but the new one is fixed. And now you will never unsee that as well. Another crucial thing that has been updated as well are the tools themselves. I made a devlog post about this, but essentially the tools themselves... Oh, I have to spawn a new one out too. Also use baked materials. So, actually, I'll just duplicate that and kind of open this up. So it has this, which is just a reused material that used for a lot of things as well, just for the crystal. But everything else is all baked onto a texture. So you got like your main texture, normal map, occlusion map, and metallic map. It does make for some good details, but if you have multiple tools and you're spawning them out, and each one of these tools have like baked textures that can add up even if they're low resolution textures. So having all the tools reuse the same basic set textures, and all you're loading is new material variants, is going to be easier on users, as well as a little touch up and polishes here and there.
Yeah, a lot of what we're aiming to do is keep the same visual style with a lot of the assets we're updating, but just change the way that they're using the materials so that they are a little bit more performant. And you know, it's the same process we're doing with pretty much everything. It should hopefully look the same, just run better.
Yeah. Well, there are some differences between the current set of tools right now and the tools that are right here. Some of them are just model updates, and some of them are mostly material updates. One of the main things we were thinking about too is all the tools don't really have an arbitrary or a well-defined category. I just kind of categorize them by color to make it work with the multi-tool at the time, because we didn't have too much time in the beginning days of Resonite, but after time, or more time to think about it and kind of figure out ways to make it easier to identify what tool does what. categorize these into different colors. And not only they got like different colors, but also got the different unique shapes that we made sure to have when we first launched Resonite. That was one of the most important things. There we go. I think that's all the tools except for the many brushes that we'll have to probably automate the process of replacing the models. Some of the new models themselves are mainly these two right here. This one used to have been the... Let's get the old one. Grab setter tip. There we go. This tool, if people aren't familiar, it makes objects grabbable or not. So if I make a box here, for example, I can grab it, move it around, but if I point and click with this, now I can't. Do it again, I can move it. So if I press secondary, it makes it non-grabbable. This trigger moves it around. This one's most notable change. Let me get the old one of what it looks like. Now what this tool does, all it does, it simply just hides the mesh and unhides it, depending on what button you press. It's just an improved visual. I can even do it to myself, so I can be clear. Oh, I just got my tool. Okay, there we go. I realize it unhide some extra geometry. Okay. No, that'll just be there. Yeah, to kind of go over like what each category means, you got like these tools down here that are centered around like information or data. You got the controller diagnostic tool, which shows like everything about the controller if I equip it, and I can see all the different pieces of data. Be really good for testing to see if my controller's going out of whack or drifting. Got this measurement tool, which is very self-explanatory. And this label tool, which puts labels on things that you can name and change. The purple category right there is mainly tools that edit existing objects, like the mesh visibility, the grabbable setter. This tool edits current meshes. You got Gaussian splat editing tool, glue tool, color. Quite a few tools in this category. It's pretty much the biggest one, next to brushes. But I lobbed brushes and these three tools in the same category because they create objects. You got the microphone tool, which creates audio files based off of your microphone input. The light tool, which can spawn light sources or change the directional light in the world. The shape tool, so you can create different shapes. And of course brushes, which create geometry or particles, depending on what kind of brush it is. Then you got your most common tools, which are those three up there, which are a category of their own. You got the material tool, which not only can edit materials, but also create new ones. The protoflux tool, which can both edit protoflux and create new protoflux. And the dev tool, which can edit anything or create anything. And each of them has this kind of little shimmer on them. I'm gonna grab my water. And the last category right there, these tools. Figured a good color to use for custom tools that we make is pretty much white, where it's like all the colors in one. Stay hydrated, folks. It is starting to get warm. Well, it's the late or middle of May. Ah, we have a question. The microphone is sparkling quite strongly. Is that a quirk of the tool itself, or the lighting of the world that you're in? I
You have
think
your highlights on. Yeah, you do.
I think that is the metal that's on it, although I could tweak it to be darker. Actually,
Well,
we
the
can.
only sparkling that I see from it right now is like the reflection of the light from your eyes.
Is it reflecting now?
No?
Hmm. Oh, there's also a light that's on the Rotoflux tool itself.
Mm. We could edit the metalness values and stuff.
Could go to the visual right here. Overlay. Oh yeah, this one also has like that colorful lines effect only when I hit record. And I just made an audio file. That's the overlay mesh. If I remember correctly, it would just be, oh, there's the first one. So what if I use the color palette of this? Well, that looks much better. Still a little sparkly. I tone down that smoothness, keep the metalness to 1. Oh, that looks... No, we'll keep it like that. That looks much nicer. I'm gonna save it. Oh, here's a good question. Marty asks, will there be an official Resonite branded walkie-talkie once audio releases? I would have to sketch out something and draw up or build something in Blender, unless if you want to make one. But that would be pretty cool. I'd imagine something that would probably be like one of those portable ham radio ones. Would be pretty neat looking. Almost steampunky style ones, or one that you would find in Myst. Ooh, we got a question here from Qualitorium. I really like using the platform color palette to stylize stuff, but I find myself constantly using the Hero X colors on account of the others, sub-dark being too dark for foreground colors, e.g. for naming slots. Would adding another category of value tiers between Hero and Sub, or above Hero for tinted highlights, be possible, advisable, or useful? Now, if I remember correctly, there is a color palette itself within the... I think there is a similar one. Either I'm thinking there is a color that already exists but isn't added to the color palette, but I am unsure. Some of this is a chroma question to ask within the Discord. Oh yeah, there is a component that lists them. It's been a while. So that should
I
be...
mean, in that case of that question, they would just probably want to use the generic like color values, as in specifying a specific color value, rather than us adding another one. Because like the reason for having the hero ones is just to quickly use the platform colors whenever we're making official content, or if someone wants to create something that has like themed colors for the platform. But you have access to pretty much every color you want by just specifying it directly.
And you can use a hex value for each color.
Yep.
Okay, I am gonna try to grab that component real quick from a default UI. Actually, isn't it in the color picker itself? Platform color palette. Here we go. Looks like it's... Okay, if I remember correctly, there was like a gray between mid and light. But I don't know if it also was pertaining to the actual colors. So, just hasn't been added yet. Now I'd have to poke Chroma about that one. Marty SH asks, wanted to mention the beautiful blueprint-like sketches of the tools. They're so pretty. What do you use to make them? They were drawn physically. There's two different sets of sketches within the Cloud Home that you find on a desk. The black and white, the dark mode ones are made by Ryuvi on an iPad using Procreate, I think it was. Yeah, Procreate. And the ones that I did in like the light with the orange were using kind of like a sketchbook that I scanned using a scanner and color pencil to sketch them out. Specifically, it's kind of like a mechanical color pencil, so I always have like a sharp edge each time I refresh it.
Like those, I used to have some.
Yep. And then also I think Crayola had those twistables as well, where you just twist it and it just goes up like a thing of chapstick or so. Or glue.
I actually got some extremely fine point, like high end mechanical pens for doing sketches whenever we're doing stuff like that. Um, I actually had to buy them from Japan. Pretty good pens, pencils.
Yeah. Clean up a little bit. There we go. Oh, one more thing I have to mention about the tools. I think I already mentioned this a bit here and there, but those who aren't familiar, within the essentials you got a multi-tool that you can go in your radio menu and swap between the different tools that you can mess around with. It's pretty neat. Not for beginners, but good for like power users that wants to have all the tools in one. But there's a problem. You have all the tools in one. You don't use all the tools in one, and also that could bog down performance. One of the reasons why we're kind of updating these tools is, say, if you make a multi-tool and you add all the tools, it's not as heavy, but also make it so that we found a way to basically have an arbitrary amount of tools within the tool, so you can dynamically add or remove tools into like a pool of tools within this multi-tool using dynamic variables. Now, it'll pretty much be compatible with this. Right now it's using dynamic variables. Something like component access would be more preferable, but to kind of make it more functional, people can just either use like the individual tools on their own or utilize the multi-tool that we build and make their own, if they want to, compatible with the system. Though in the future, of course, we'll definitely use something new and better, and by the time, we'll have a way to kind of keep the old tools in a folder. People want to mess around with the old tools, but at that time, have much better ways of updating the tools with new features and such. It's just a lot of the engineering work has been done right now for getting to the performance update, which is up next because the last prerequisite or last hurdle and prerequisite to get to the performance update is updating the audio engine, and Froox is pretty close on finishing that and getting it ready for public release. And back to the topic of multi-tools, went ahead and made a couple of different handles for them. Kind of like a stylus. I took the old brush model, updated it, same with the old microphone handle. Someone commented that it looked like a lightsaber hilt. I may or may not now want to make a tool tip handle thing that is a lightsaber. One of these days I will. It was May the 4th, but I missed that opportunity. Oh, we do have a good question from Sox the Fennec. Is the third-person camera orb customizable? Yes. Could I make my own or an avatar? That is correct, you can. So, if I bring in this right here, this is the default avatar. This is actually what comes with the default avatar entirely. It's just, you don't normally see this. This is just hidden. So I could just hide this view visual right here. And when you spawn one from the essentials, this is what it looks like. And if you don't have one that's part of the avatar, it'll default to this this one because it's also part of the spawn assets. In order to make it a view node or a custom viewer, you will need to get this component right here, an avatar pose node, and you would have to specify the node as a view. Now, if I recall where to find that, you create a component or attach a component, users, common avatar. Okay, there it is, pose node. Going over again where you can find it. Users, common avatar system, avatar pose node. And I could just spawn it out again. By default, it'll be none. But yeah, I've seen people make some pretty cool ones. Either of like a flying plushie, someone literally having their avatar turn into a headless avatar and their head flying around as the view visual was crazy one I saw. Some people made like the torch monitor from Halo. Some people made like their own digital cameras floating around or FPV drone. It's a lot of pretty neat stuff that people have made. As the saying goes, switching to your sidearm is faster than reloading. The common one babbler said. One thing we're thinking of is having something else to switch the multi-tool tools with instead of a radio menu tool, but have like a radio menu still to say you lock the tools so you don't accidentally add or remove tools, and then unlock tools or clear all tools, etc., rather than using it as a way to swap the tools. That would be a much nicer way of approaching it. Ah, yeah, tool facets will be really interesting to mess around with. And some to kind of go over what Fuchs was talking about with regards to that. That's more or less adding extra options and features to the tools in regards of UI and settings. Imagine, actually, let me move the camera over here. There we go. So, say you have like a brush, for instance, and you have all these options. Like if I go into the geometry line brush, you have all these parameters to mess around with, like it's the thickness of the stroke of the pen, or if it's smooth or not, or what color it is, etc. Imagine being able to adjust that using like a little facet that's either attached to the tool itself or like on your arms or something like that. Probably a good question to ask Frooks as well. Want to learn more? That's what I recall. Tune in on Sundays. You'll see Frooks and Sarah occasionally. Still quite a bit to do with the tutorial process and updating it, but...
Oh, oops, I was muted.
Oh, you
Did
were
you answer
muted?
the one from Socks the Fennec?
Yeah. Yeah, because you need an avatar pose node, set the view. You didn't catch it either.
People make a lot of fun ones. I saw someone who has like just like one of those cartoony video like movie cameras.
Ah.
Or I think Lucas has one set up as like a little dragon, like a little noodle dragon who just flies around.
Oh, that's adorable.
Funny.
The moment when you're muted, I have that moment as well.
Luckily, I wasn't saying too much at the time.
Yeah.
I think we have what, just about
10 or so minutes.
Yeah, like 15 minutes. If people want to
Yeah.
send in some more questions, ask us anything.
Ooh. We do have another one from Qualitorium. Okay, I'm pronouncing it right. The name. Okay. Are there any official Resonite room tone background audio assets? I know the Cloud Home has some wind noises and such. Curious if they all live somewhere. They're technically in the world, but we could just take the raw assets that are within, like, say, the Cloud Home or this world, etc., and put them within the Resonite Essentials, which will help people create their own worlds if they want to utilize it. There is a room tone for the interior. Right now it's more kind of like just an air conditioned like room, but if you go over by, say, that spinning turbine, you'll hear the muffled version of it. and the idle version of the portal if you're by it when it's open. And, oh, yeah, that's actually something I could showcase too is, well, just kind of going over what's being done with the portal. Yeah, having like a silent area would be kind of weird when, like, you're in a world and you want some noise in the background. Because if you're in absolute silence, could get eerie. Now, there isn't much to see here yet, but to kind of go over what the portal will be doing, let me kind of reset it here real quick. It's a very brief, like, very early version of it, but you can see a list right here of things that this portal will do. Of course, the portal will be updated with the new photon dust particles and spatial variables even as well once those comes out. But the main function of this teleporter at the very end of the tutorial is to guide users where they want to go, choose what they want to experience when they first join into this place. Because right now, the start of the tutorial is kind of like the training wheels to guide people through if they're either brand new to VR or if they're new to this platform in general, kind of interact with things or learn locomotion. Now, when they go over here, right before, users will learn how to use... I have no idea how that thing turned off, but okay. um, Users will be able to learn that they can use their dashboard to interact with things as well. So it'll briefly teach users, this is your dashboard. These are like the, say, your, it'll show like a mock dashboard in front of them, or like screenshots, or even a video that you can utilize your dashboard to interact with the different parts of the platform, as well as then guiding the users to this teleporter right here to be sort of a more user-friendly, beginner-friendly way of traveling to places. You got your cloud home, where it originally would lead to. You also got the avatar gazebo, which is the world that will teach users where to find avatars, whether it be other worlds or making them or in folders, etc. And a user session list that will show what are the most populated worlds within Resonite at the time. As this is live, this shows right now, even in this prototype version, it shows some of the hosted sessions out there. Now, some of the updates to this one would be like a curved panel with like a scroll bar in the bottom that you can slide through. Whenever you select a session, portal will start up and you'll end up in the world that you select. Now, this teleporter will also have a version that will be standalone. That standalone version will just have the UI panel to choose where you want to go, whether it be your cloud home, a new version of the avatar gazebo, and a world's active session browser. And it will also be in the cloud home. For instance, you just select one, opens up, and the particles that Ravi's done with the photon dust is really nice. I can't wait to show off that. Ravi's definitely excited to show it. Yeah. Let's see if we missed any questions here. What?
Ask about like the ambient sound in the
Ah,
background for the
yeah.
rooms. Like in
Oh,
this one, we have some like
yeah.
uh, metal noises from the outdoor.
It attracts anomalies. Deselect here and click on the panel. There we go.
Do we have
Ah,
the back like the sounds from this in a folder somewhere in the essentials?
not yet. That is something that we want to do, is make a subfolder within the assets folder to house sound effects. And, one thing that we're adding to the whole place is footstep sounds.
Yep.
Right now, all the
And the
assets
materials
are
as well.
reset to have footstep sounds. It's just there's like a sound library handler that you'll be able to spawn in a world, and you can utilize that to have footsteps on different materials. And that's what we're gonna do when we get the sound effects made for it. Appler has a question. When you create or edit worlds, do you make use of edit mode? I'm still wrapping my head around what it even does, to be honest. So, I'm guessing you're assuming this mode here. Now, what I've seen edit mode used for is, say if you want to limit editing a world to just like a mode and not just being in a builder permission state, but it's more niche than that. I've seen people make specific things only interactable when you're in edit mode, so it can kind of prevent, say, if people are building things in a world, like it's a sandbox world, but you have places you don't want people accidentally editing, interacting with, you can separate it using that, as it's simply a Boolean checkbox to check if a user is in edit mode or not. And I can use a gesture, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, to kind of activate it and disable it. Or I can go into the, I think it was the session menu? Yes. Session menu and hit the checkbox on the top right in settings, session settings, to turn on and off edit mode. Zaniris asks, what do you know about crashing with a texture? Have you encountered a crash with a texture? Not personally.
Make sure if you ever have a crash, try to make a GitHub post with your log, and that way we can easily track down what might be causing the issues. That provides a lot of information for us to look at. That's what might have caused it. We have roughly 5 minutes left if anyone else has any questions. I almost crashed my computer earlier trying to do things in the compositor node for Blender. I had to close it out. When you put in too high of a number.
Well, if it's the case of the log getting cut off, then if you have the texture on hand, and if it's something that you would like to provide to, say, someone to test it, or have someone help you test it to see if they also get a log, or if there's
I
some
think they
kind
should
of...
be able to add it to the GitHub issue as well, the texture.
Yeah.
I think even if a log cuts off at that point, it still provides some information as to like this is where it died.
Yep.
So any of those things, and then this out.
There we go. We have a question from Naminam. That... Okay, yeah, that
Oh
does
yeah, they're
seem
talking
to...
about the one
Yeah,
in the chat.
yeah, I just banned it. It was like... It's, yeah, a bot that was spamming absolute, like, weird random nonsense and then started talking about advertising. So, yeah.
Okay, we can usually have those people.
Alright, let's take a look at Nami's question. There are several GitHub issues related to the Cloud Home, some existing for almost a year and a half, some trivial taking less than 10 minutes to fix. Is there a reason why these bugs haven't been fixed? I've seen the excuse given before, and homeworlds can't be edited retroactively if you fix anything. Shouldn't this be a reason why fixing it now should be prioritized to avoid it affecting new users? Now, what we are doing right now is doing a whole refresh of the entire world itself. So a lot of those issues are being done all at once.
And some of them are already fixed. It's just that we can't label them as completed because we haven't output the home yet. And instead of doing it like one after the other, where someone might get one fix and someone might get multiple fixes, we'd rather just finish all of the things we need to do with it and then output it so that it's like there's not multiple different fixed versions of the house. It's just the fixed one.
Yep.
It's easier that way. And then once we output the actual like fixes, then we can label it as complete. So a lot of them are actually already like touched, or at least looked at. Believe me, even if a GitHub issue is sitting there for a while, we do look at them. We make sure to read all the ones that are labeled for what we're currently working on and see if we can fix them or not at the current moment. So.
Yep. There's even ones for the tools as well too, and that's one of the things we're going to get to, is looking through and see if there's ones that we can fix now. And because some of them are also in the Cloud Home, so it's a good reason why we're also looking through and updating the tools, as well as the world. Our goal is to have this completed to answer Nami's question, or half the question, 2 questions technically. We want it to be done by the release of the splitting update, where Fuchs starts the optimization updates. Because right now it's the prerequisite that's being worked on, which is audio. Then it would be splitting the functions of Unity and Fuchs Engine, so it's its own thing where it's communicating with each other but separate.
I mean, we've been working on this for quite a while.
Yeah. I'd say for probably 3 or 4 months so far. A lot of it was first figuring out what we want to do, and then realizing, okay, if we're wanting to release updates of the stuff that we're wanting to do to improve it, then we gotta lessen our scope. So originally, what we wanted to do is make a brand new beginner's experience, completely fresh, even more fleshed out than what we got right now. That is more gamified, more even narrative as well too. But within a time frame, it's best that we focus on optimizing what we got right now, refurbishing the asset by refurbishing the assets that we have, adding and focusing on the pain points that people have within the avatar process, making process or finding process, the onboarding experience within here, and how we can find ways to bring users into sessions with other users as well. Hence the update to the teleporter, getting users to know about their dashboard, the avatar gazebo world, adding a category in the worlds browser that is for avatar worlds, the likes of that.
Well, that is all the time we have for today, I think.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for stopping by.
Last second question. Okay, Long J23 asks, any consideration for Resonite slot hierarchy difference that would allow a modified home to migrate to the new home, aka you have modified these assets from base, they are now this. Which copy do you want to keep? Okay.
That's actually something that we plan to do in the future via a different system where the assets themselves can have versions, and then people can determine whether or not those want to update. What was it called, Aegis? It was
prefabs.
yeah, the prefabs.
So
That would also solve the problem of the homes being out of date for other versions as well. So, like if we fix a plant or something, we wouldn't have to update the entire house or world. We could just update that plant, and then that prefab would, be updated.
yeah. That, I think, is actually also a feature request GitHub on GitHub as well, if you want to read into it. That is something definitely that is
a later feature.
Yeah. And that pretty much wraps up all the questions, I hope. Single asset reference, yeah. It could be a single asset reference, but it also could encompass like a whole object. Like a object hierarchy as a prefab. Kind of like if you save something to the inventory, that could be a prefab. So
kind of like how the house can be a prefab with plant variant prefabs inside of it, if that makes sense.
Or the different light fixtures, furniture, plants, as you said. Yeah.
It's kind of like making a folder with like a new folder in it. You can copy the new folder, and then it'll also have that other one in it as well.
Molecule is different than what we're talking about. Molecule is the versioning of Resonite itself, like the version number, the build version, and managing that and compiling and uploading that to where it should be. Like, Molecule is basically like an improved process for making the program itself. That's more or less optimizing the workflow for any of the engineers. Or coders, rather.
Thank you guys for your questions, and hopefully we were able to answer them to y'all's liking. We are slightly over now, so. But definitely feel free to tune in next Wednesday so that we can do another round of questions that we can answer for you guys.
Yeah. And real quick, Xenerus, about the same time as the Cloud Home and everything else. We want to try to release all these different content updates either before or during the splinting. You all have a good one.
You guys have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.